Hey YouTube, Prometheus13 today to talk about some One Piece greatness. I will of course be talking about Monkey D Luffy, as you would have seen when you clicked on this video. Monkey D Luffy and where we are at as far as 987. I myself, guys, I am pretty hyped for what's about to happen. I mean, all of the nuances and all of the little stuff that has built up to this point. Oh, dude, Ichiro Oda is definitely the man. He is the GOAT when it comes to this kind of writing. Today, I just want to take some time to talk about Advanced Armament Hockey, Rio. Obviously, I've had a few different YouTubers clarify this as I've understood it myself, that Rio is just the way of describing armament hockey in Wano, but I will say that in Wano, despite that being the way of describing armament hockey, the pretty much understood concept that is had by everybody in Wano has led to a pretty much basic advanced armament that most people are sporting in Wano. Like Hirogoro straight up says in the Udon Mines, you know, this flowing Sakura form of hockey is pretty much the standard here at Wano. So essentially, I want to talk a little bit not just about the advanced armament hockey and also the fact that Luffy's arm did not turn black when he pulled those cuffs off of Yamato, but also in what we could hypothesize about Zoro and making a black blade. Now, I'll start by saying my own specific thoughts on, since I was introduced with the concept in the story, I always thought that a black blade would be established when a strong enough swordsman forged his own will or her own will on a battlefield with enough great will to actually instill a constant permanent ailment to the blade. And that's what a black blade is a permanently ailmented blade. With that being said, I think we got some examples of this already kind of previous in the story, not exactly the same, but kind of hinting to it. The first thing we could mention is the Kuja arrows. The Kuja arrows, when fired, continue to have an ailment past the point in time that they're fired and hit their target. Now, this is interesting because as far as we've seen in the storyline, you know, you kind of have to continue to touch whatever it is that you're ailmenting, as far as we saw. So the fact that Rio actually is a slightly different version of how we look at normal ailment hockey could actually explain at why it is a natural advanced ailment hockey versus just your regular basic one that we are introduced to via the traditional methods with, you know, what we learned from Rayleigh and just like interactions that we've had going into Marineford, you know, because obviously with the Kuja arrows being mentioned, another very interesting fact to bring up with talking of the Kuja arrows is Marigold of the Boa sisters. Now, Boa Marigold is very interesting because she herself appears to use Rio pre-time skip and loses to a pre-time skip Luffy. Now, I think that just means that, like Wano Kuni, there is a natural advanced armament that is used by the Kuja pirates, by the Amazonas warriors. And with that being said, I think that it's just a natural flow of things for the arrows to be able to keep their ailment. And we see the classic, and I mean classic, advanced ailment hockey, you know, Rio, the cannon, you know, the invisible cannon from Marigold, and making a black blade. Now, it may be, you know, splitting hairs, a very far jump, but I think that these two things are very much related. As I said, I believe that a black blade is when you can permanently instill the in general will that you wish to carry out with your blade on that blade, and it just happens to stay permanently, or not just happens, that's the point. In doing so, you make the blade not only stronger, more durable, obviously, but it probably comes with a specific amount of power itself. Like the blade itself would have a specific amount of power, and I think that as we continue to go through these arcs, we're going to get a more fleshed out version of the Black Blade if it is not already fleshed out by the end of Wano. And I just wanted to get that specific theory out because I think that it might be very close to what is actually going on with the Black Blade scheme. Now, with that being said, I think that we can all agree that, you know, the levels of hockey as far as it goes is not always indicative of the strength of a fighter. I think that an exceptionally gifted, strong person could possibly have little to no hockey control because, again, as we understand, hockey is a way of describing willpower, and every person has a will. Just not everyone has the ability to assert that will physically into reality. That is the difference in not using hockey and using it. It's a great conversation to have. It really is. You know, we obviously have much more that we could talk about going on throughout that chapter. I mean, the first thing that I would want to mention is Pero Sparrow working with Marco. Like, that is going to end up being some very dope ass, very dope, very, very dope plot points right there, because I think that's going to lead to some hostility between Big Mom and Kaido, and initially make it, instead of it being Kaido and Big Mom versus Luffy, be Kaido v Big Mom v Luffy. And that dynamic really will make a whole different ball game for how this war is going. Now, with that being said, I think that it's also very, 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 very important to point out that Zoro is the one person whose strength has not been tested post-time skip. Post-time skip, Zoro has not once broken a sweat. Now, I actually want to shout out to Mr. Morge because he had a couple thoughts. It's what made me, you know, bring that comment about Boa Marigold out, where, you know, that's one of the first examples we get to see of advanced armament hockey without even knowing that that's what it is. I also want to shout out because I actually heard a lot of reasons and why he believed Kinemon not to be an exceptionally strong combatant. Now, as much as I could completely understand and see the point of view in which he comes from, you know, which it's like, you know, you could argue each an individual feat that has a combination of 300 chapters behind why things look as though Kinemon may be one of the weaker scabbards. I think that what we're going to find out is, number one, you know, serious attack against Zoro. That'll be the main thing I want to point out. When it comes down to Zoro not being tested, not his strength not being tested post time skip, is the fact that Kinemon could have been attacking someone already at Kaido's level. And, you know, that's exactly why Zoro just, you know, fucking brushed it off. You know, it's not even important. It's not worth talking about. You know, I definitely think that we're going to see a lot from Kinemon, a lot that's going to seem shocking if you underrate his power, which, you know, like I said, shout out to Mr. Morris. I really like his material. I think he will thinks through his video, and I respect his opinion. Man is allowed to have his opinion, but I just wanted to say that, you know, I think that I'm expecting a little more from Kinemon than what a lot of other people are. Now, all of that being said, I also am looking very interested to see what true remnants of the Whitebeard pirates made it to this war. Because I know that, you know, Nekomamushi said, hey, we had to stop off and go and get Izo, but I think that it's only fitting that we have some members of the Whitebeard pirate remnants come, more specifically Ace's Nakama v the Spade Pirates, because as far as we know, we don't know what happened to the Spade Pirates, but you could make some inclinations that they possibly, a good majority of them probably enlisted in Ace's division in Whitebeard's crew. And I say that because when Ace is introduced in chapter 157, as you go through that in the Alabasta arc, once he actually meets up with the Straw Hats and Luffy, he gives him an open invitation to come join the Whitebeard Pirates, and he straight up says in that quote, you can bring your friends too, and they could also be under Whitebeard. You guys can be in my division. So I think that we're gonna have to see what the Whitebeard remnants look like and what that storyline does for not just Yamato but Tama. With that being said, I think that we're definitely gonna see a lot of great swordsmanship in this arc, and I think that it's important to always keep in mind that it's all about the matchup. It really is all about the matchup. Sometimes a person of incredible strength, if they are not disciplined enough, can find themselves taking losses to people who, power-wise, are significantly weaker than them. That's one of the main reasons I love One Piece, because it's very subtle, but that's pretty much what every fight in One Piece is. Even if Luffy beats somebody who is incredibly more powerful than him, Luffy usually has more discipline. Obviously we won't count the Katakuri fight in this exact synopsis. The Katakuri fight holds, plays of that aspect on Luffy's character, but, I think that we could all agree right now, Luffy's on the incline of maturing as far as a character. Just the feats that we've seen from him since this Wano arc started, I think that this is the turnaround from the classic Straw Hat formula. I think the classic Straw Hat formula may be getting shaken up, and I think Oda has been subtly but surely, just pushing, little plot points, little things that Luffy does and Luffy says as time goes on, that is letting you know this is not the same Monkey D. Luffy that we've seen go into every arc before. I think that Dressrosa would have actually seen this version of Monkey D. Luffy had the whole Mira fruit incident not come up. So, obviously it's Oda's story and he'll do what he wants, but I think that we're gonna see a completely different version of Monkey D. Luffy, the very, very intelligent savant like Monkey D. Luffy that I have come to know and love. I guess one other very, very interesting point that we could bring up, that we could save a further discussion for a future video, is the crew of Big Mom and her Big Mom pirates. Now, the Big Mom pirates are interesting because there is a certain level to inheritance and to genealogy that people don't emphasize. Like, for instance, I myself am very interested to see what Lola brings to the future story after watching these cover stories. Now, I myself am of a complete opposite nature to most of the YouTubers and One Piece theorists, because I actually love the cover stories. I can't get enough of them. And I myself, I'm waiting for the giant war, because Bartolomeo burned red-haired Shanks' flag in a cover story as we're seeing the feats of the Grand Fleet. So I'm of the notion that the Grand Fleet's going to show up in Wano, and I just am going to find it so amusing if everyone's there but the fanboy and the fanboy pirates, and they're like, well, where are they? And then, the members of the Grand Fleet are just like, well, Luffy, you see, Bartolomeo went to red-haired Shanks' territory to tell them of your greatness, and they said they were protected by red-haired Shanks, so Shanks burned their pirate flag, which we actually have instances of pirate wars breaking out over the exact same damn thing. So I just am gonna find that so amusing. But with the Big Mom pirate crew, I think that there is a lot that we could talk about her children, how Big Mom's crew stacks up to other Yonko crews, just simply due to the fact that they're bred with a specific amount of lineage factors, like what Judge was doing in trying to perfect a perfect race. Big Mom was doing, but only through a more natural means to keep it PG-13 for any kids reading. Now, with that being said, I think that it's going to be interesting talking about this cover story, what it is that Pound brings to the table. What territory, what kind of royalty, what kind of a person was Pound? Because one of the main things that we know is that Big Mom doesn't take in slouches. She did not marry slouches. She did not have kids with slouches. So, just looking at what Pound survived and bringing him in the cover story, now I understand why everyone's upset with how Oda has chose to revive Pound. That says a whole hell of a lot for Pound's race and their specific amount of durability. For instance, we know that Lola and Chiffon are both children of Big Mom, but Lola just from what we've seen from her shadow and the Warthog on Thriller bark, and what we know Chiffon faced every day after Lola left, which is, the full wrath of a Yonko. Played as Big Mom's personal punching bag for how many years before Capone came. And with that being said, we are talking about beings of incredible durability. Now, with, Pound's incredible size, I still don't want to give up on the theory that one of the giant races, and this is going to sound super ironic and hilarious, but right up Oda's alley, could be the dwarves. And I think that Pound himself could be some sort of dwarven royalty. And those dwarves, so that Big Mom could get those into her collective, married Pound and had Lola and Chiffon. I'm definitely looking forward to learning about that. I mean, all that we do know is that, Big Mom has kids with incredibly powerful people, so that the kids end up incredibly powerful. Now, it's interesting to see Perospero and Marco fighting together. I mean, we saw the whole Cake Island ordeal, and the cook, obviously Strusen, and how he handled that and saved everybody. I mean, I don't know, it's never been personally said, but I've always been under the assumption that with Perospero not only being the eldest son, but also looking a hell of a lot like the dude that Strusen is actually Perospero's father. And I mean, he himself is pretty durable, and we've seen the strength of Perospero. So I definitely will love to see not just how many ridiculously powerful children she's made, because we obviously see that she has ridiculously powerful children, but specifically how many conquerors did she make that are now in her crew. Obviously I can go further in. I mean, we got good material for Luffy here, man. I mean, Luffy's unpredictability is directly due to the fact that he is the one who naturally disagrees. That may be the point of the Will of D, is that you'll just naturally disagree, even if, the norm, the social construct says that, oh, this is okay, because it's just what's happened. Luffy has no ability to just take things lying down. So I think that we'll save, a little bit more with what's up with Pound's character and with Luffy's character, as far as what I think is happening with his Gear 4 forms. But just to give you a little taste, I'm wondering, does Luffy himself have a set out amount of Gear 4 forms already created, or is Gear 4 more like a constantly changing armor that's essentially not cemented into one or two specific forms, but whatever form Luffy needs to take to be able to overcome his obstacle? I'm very interested to see and talk and discuss about that, but I think I'm gonna wait and give a little bit more time for research. So just to not drag the video on, I hope everybody enjoyed the content. I hope I can get a few subscribes, if you happen to like the video. I hope everybody has a beautiful and blessed day. Peace.